Hi everyone, hope you're doing well. Today we're remaking from scratch just by using Ableton stock plugin. The lead from the track called It's Our made by David Guetta, Idris Elba and ARTBAT, and it sounds like this. So you can see I've transformed it into a rack as well, but I will come back to this later. You can see as well I've made the Serum version that I will explain to you later. So we're gonna use wavetable for that. So it's quite a simple sound, and like the recipe is kind of basic, but the execution is always a bit tricky, and I will show you there is a few tricks here and there that will help you get closer, especially one that I overlooked for a long time. So let's get started. The sound originally, you can hear it's kind of this analog sound but a bit modern, and so I found to use the wavetable from, I guess it's the Mini Moog. You see here you have mini waves, and you can definitely hear it's kind of a sawtooth sound, I would say, because you get this buzziness and this rich harmonic content on the original sound. Now the second characteristic of the sound is that you have a secondary oscillator playing an octave upper. This way you get an even richer sound. So you go to oscillator 2 and you select exactly the same waveform, mini wave, and again here the sawtooth at 40%. Put it an octave upper, so 12 semitone. And it already adds this detune. You can add a bit of detune if you want to add character. I'm not going to do it for the example, but that's something you can look into it. I also made the rack version of this preset where I map the waveform, where you can change the waveform, create different type of sound, but I will come back to this later. Right, another thing you can hear in the original is there is a lot of noise. Unfortunately, Ableton Wavetable doesn't have noise. Wouldn't mind to have a little tab here with noise to add some white noise, but we're going to add it later. We're going to jump into the filter. I select the SMP filter, which was this one I found it what sounded the best for this case. They all works. The important thing is to choose 12 dB. You want to bring it down because, like I said, it's very rich in harmonics, and you want to filter a little bit this harmonics. So we're gonna go a little bit around 3 kilohertz. It sounds quite muffled now, but the idea is to modulate the filter with an envelope to add a bit more sharpness and dynamic to your sound. And a great way to accentuate this modulation is to add a bit of resonance. So we're gonna go around 30%. You don't want this resonant acid effect, but you want to add character to this movement. Same, we can add a bit of drive. It's gonna add some loudness. Can go around 9 dB. All right, so now in terms of sound, so sonically we are pretty close. Now we need to shape our sound dynamically to give the same expressiveness, and we're gonna do that with the amp envelope. But like I said, for example, the filter was modulating by the envelope, and I'm also gonna modulate the volume of oscillator 1 and 2, and that's the thing that I overlooked for a long time, which is actually really cool. It's just gonna make you sound more dynamic. The thing is, with amp, it's usually modulating the volume and the dynamic of your sound at the end of the chain, rather than if you modulate the oscillator 1 and 2 gain with an envelope directly at the beginning of the chain, it will add even more dynamic and make the sound a bit more exciting. So before to tweak the envelope, I'm gonna set this modulation. So this way you're gonna really understand and hear properly how the amplitude envelope affect the sound. So I'm gonna go to matrix and I'm gonna click to frequency. Here I'm not gonna modulate too much the filter with the envelope. You want something subtle, but for the oscillator to gain, first I'm gonna reduce to -7 dB. That's what I found the best when I modulate with the amp. If you go to -infinite, it doesn't sound good. If you go obviously too close to 0, it doesn't work. So -7 was kind of the right value in between, and I'm going to modulate to the maximum 100. And I'm gonna do the same here, -7, and modulating with the amp. So now it didn't change that much, obviously, because the amp, we haven't changed it neither. And you can hear in the original sound that it's a sound which is pretty short, pretty sharp. You can hear as well there is a bit of attack at the beginning of the sound, a little bit like kind of a brassy sound, like a wind instrument. So in order to do these two things, first a short sound, so you don't want any sustain. And you can adjust the GK and release above together to make it even shorter. But it sounds too short now, but you're gonna see we're gonna add a bit of attack. So like I say, I want a bit sounding like a brassy instrument, so I'm gonna crank it up until I get this effect. Around 120 milliseconds. Alright, that's not bad, but there is something we're gonna change to make it even more interesting. We're gonna go to the slope, and you can see here you can kind of make it rounder, and here by reducing the slope you really make it a bit tighter. And same for the GK, we want the same effect, except on here you have to go positively to get this curve. So here you get this kind of brassy short sound, and we're pretty much done with the sound. I'm just gonna put it in mono. Obviously, if you want, you can put it in poly and then play more kind of pad. You can also use the amp and bring it up to have more sustain. That can be an interesting thing to try out. Now, I said I wanted to add some noise. First, I'm just gonna add some saturation just to add a bit of loudness. So I'm gonna use saturator and I'm gonna use the medium curve. Medium is when I want something soft but add a bit of bite, and just gonna add 6 dB of gain. Okay, so now let's add our noise. So for that, we're gonna use vocoder, and I actually have a preset which is set to make noise. You can just copy the parameter, especially here. I don't really have any reason why you have to put this. It's just work like this. It sounds better with this parameter like this. Here I will just add a bit more release to make it longer, and I will change the format, which is kind of changing the color of the noise, getting it slightly brighter, and maybe reducing the dry wet. So noise is great. It's not only just for this analog side, but it really adds bite to your sound. It's work usually really well with sawtooth sound. It kind of glue all of your sound and making it a bit more interesting. Now we're gonna move into another important thing about this sound is like the effect chain. You can hear there is some kind of dub delay going on, and to create that we're gonna use Ableton Echo. A dub delay is basically kind of a filter delay. So in the original you can hear the delay is playing kind of in stereo in ping pong, so that's why you need to have your ping pong mode activated. You can hear that it's playing right after the note. So we're gonna need to change our time. We're gonna put it in note, and it's exactly like this. So you can try like this 1/4. But this is too slow. And this is coming too fast. Now, like I said, it's great to filter your signal. It adds character. So we're gonna go up around 300 Hz. Another way to add character is to crank up the resonance. Obviously, it's gonna add really this dB effect, and you can crank up the resonance here as well. You can leave at 5 kHz and just crank up the resonance. Alright, one thing I noticed in the original is like the delay sound is a little bit different than the dry signal basically. There is this kind of reverb effect on it. It's quite weird. So here what we're gonna do, we have a reverb actually, and you can put it pre, so this means it's like gonna be before the delay, and we're gonna add a bit of reverb, and you're gonna see like it's not gonna sound exactly like the original sound. It's gonna make it a little bit more washy. So now you feel like it's like a reverb sound which is delayed, which is exactly what we want. You can crank up a little bit the GK as well. Alright, now there is one other characteristic about this delay, if you listen carefully, is that it's a pretty short delay. Like you hear the two first echo, left, right, and then the delay stop. You don't have this long tail like here. So the great way to do that is to reduce the feedback. But you can see here, it's still not perfect, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to character and we're gonna use the gate for that. So the idea is to, at a certain point, very fastly fade out the sound, not to wait the sound to fade out slowly. We want to, at one point, straight away cut it, and that's what gate's gonna do. Though this you have to adjust the threshold. So you can see here we don't hear the delay anymore, so we need to go down. And we can add a bit more release to make it smoother. You can hear it making it a bit more sharper. Now we're just gonna add a bit more stereo. And then finally we're gonna add some reverb. So I'm gonna use Ableton default reverb. So this is my kind of default setting. That's a setting I like to use because it sounds great. Size will kind of change the color of your reverb, and then you can adjust the GK. Maybe we can put a little bit more GK. Alright, you don't want something too long. And then finally, extra process, just if you want things getting a little bit louder and more in your face, I like to use that. I like to use the drum bus. You can activate the compression. I will usually redeem the input a little bit. And I usually like to add crunch to just add a bit of perceived we got pretty much our sound. So what I've done is I create a rack where what I've basically done is I've mapped the waveform of oscillator 1 here and the waveform of oscillator 2, the noise volume, so this way you can control that. I map the filter and the attack and the release of the sound, and I add some extra vibrator if you want, and this is the FX, so the delay and the reverb if you want to. But the great thing is you can experiment with different waveform if you want, for example, here to have more a square waveform, you can have more plucky sound. I made some variation here. You can have a bass more sound. Or more some like plucky sound, or even like a pad. Alright, finally, I made the preset in Serum as well. The effect chain is the same, it's just like in terms of the send sound. You got two oscillators with both the waveform from the mini Moog, the sawtooth, and the second one is the an octave upper. You can play with the unison detuning here with Serum. It's nicer than the Ableton one, and the same with the fine tuning. And everything is going through a 12 dB low pass filter, where I add a bit of resonance as well. Here the drive was not working the same way. Here just the two oscillators going through the filter and the noise go after, so this way your noise is not filtered. And again, you have this same kind of envelope which is modulating the level of your oscillator and of your filter. And the shape of the envelope, you can see pretty similar curved attack and curved decay. Here I play with the hold as well. This is something Wavetable doesn't have, but it's nice as well, but it's the same principle. I just wanted to make a preset. Here, let me know if something that you will be interested to see a bit more Serum tutorial in the future. I didn't put any FX matrix or nothing else in the global. Yeah, that's pretty much it for today. So as usual, everything will be available for free. The link in the description. The Ableton preset, I've made it for Live 10 as well, Live 11. The Serum preset, and I will probably as well put the session with the kick and the bass sound, which you can examine if you want. And yeah, thank you very much for watching, guys, and see you soon. Bye bye.